Hey guys, Lizardlea here for Larksfoot Crochet, Afghan Blanket, whatever I'm calling it, day 5. We're making progress. I think I'm actually past the halfway point. I think I was past the halfway point when I said I was at the halfway point. Could be wrong, I don't know. My eyelid is still twitching. So I rewatched my intro and I noticed when I was talking it was really hard to see that it was twitching because my face was moving because I was talking. So there you go. Also, my eyes are really pretty. Or at least I think they are. Like, blue's my favorite color, so. I'm cold, so I'm wearing my hoodie. But it's blue. Yeah. I don't think I actually talked about it at all yesterday when I did day 4. Am I on day 5 now? Whatever. I pulled out a different hook just so I could weave in the ends, because using my normal sized one, which is in the blanket. I thought I lost it. It's in the blanket. When David watches this, he's gonna laugh at me, and then he's gonna talk to me about the fact that I lost my crochet hook. I don't remember what I was saying. I weaved in the ends. Oh yeah, so it was easier with a smaller hook. Looking back on this, I do wish I had begun with a smaller hook, just because I wish I had. But I am not a professional. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not great with crochet. And people have a problem with that. They can go crochet for themselves instead of whining about me on YouTube. I got a lot more sleep last night than I did the day before, so that's nice. But I'm still tired. I'm still exhausted. So don't expect much from me. Sorry. Hey, I only had to film that one time instead of like 4. Hey. This is fun. I enjoy doing that. It brings me joy. Alright, David is on the phone. He hasn't been feeling the best lately, so I am going to be doing this one on my own. There's enough time that I could wait, but I've asked like 3 days in a row, maybe 4, and it's been a no each time, so I don't want to chance it. Just get out a video where I answer random questions. Most people don't seem to be caring much for their crochet videos anyways, so, you guys won't be missing any important conversations of what we're currently watching. But for anyone that has been wondering, I think we can discuss Dragged Across Concrete, because it was not nearly as brutal as David made it out to be. And he was just making that assumption based on Bone Saw Tomahawk, which was pretty brutal, yeah. Like that one would be harder to talk about, but and then we watched Pride and Prejudice with Keira Knightley, which is my favorite version of Pride and Prejudice. The Lizzie Bennet Diaries is up there, and I actually just rewatched it, and David didn't watch it with me, so I actually could discuss the Lizzie Bennet Diaries. If you are a fan of Pride and Prejudice, I highly recommend watching the Lizzie Bennet Diaries. They're on YouTube. There's 100 episodes. I think the longest one is like 6 minutes, but they average like 2 to 3 minutes. So you can finish it in, just a couple days if you put, a few hours in each day. It is so good. It is a modern adaptation of of Pride and Prejudice, by Jane Austen. And I've seen a lot of Pride and Prejudice movies where they're, modernized, and I didn't like the majority of them. But the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, is really good, and it still holds up. I watched it back in, gosh, 2012, 2013, I think. I could be wrong. Before 2015, but after 2010 for sure. That's all I know. But yeah, I really enjoyed it back then, and I still really like it now. They did a great job. All of the actors on that show are spectacular. But of note, one of my favorite things on it was actually how they handled Lydia. So, in the books, for anybody that has already seen it, this is not a spoiler, but for anyone who hasn't read the book or anything, this will be. So, if you, oh god, I need to actually, I'm not good at summaries. Pride and Prejudice is the story of Lizzie Bennet and her 5 sisters. And I'm going to do them in age. I believe Jane's the oldest, then Lizzie, then Mary, then Kitty, then Lydia. I believe Lydia's the youngest. And Jane is the most beautiful one. Lizzie is the most witty. And the point of the story is, it's a romance. And it's titled Pride and Prejudice because all the 2 main characters, in the romance, both are prideful and they both are prejudiced. And, it's the story of them working through that and falling in love, and I love it. I loved the book. I read it in high school. I loved the movie with Keira Knightley, which I also watched in high school. I want to say I saw the movie first, but maybe I read the book first. It's been so long, I can't say for sure. But it was because of my love of those 2 that I watched the TV movies with Colin Firth, which is also very good, but not as good as the one with Keira Knightley, in my opinion. David likes to travel while he is on the phone, so I had to pause, but I am back now. So, yeah, I watched the one with Colin Firth, I believe, and I liked it, but I just love the one with Keira Knightley. It's just perfection. And anyways, so if that sounds even just remotely interesting, I would recommend watching either of those that I mentioned, the one with Keira Knightley, the one with Colin Firth, or even the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, or reading the book. But if you have no interest in it, but you still want to know what happens and why I think Lydia's plotline is best in the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, it's because in the original book and the movies, Lydia Bennet is wed off to a complete and utter scumbag, basically. And they make it out to be that it's a good thing, but she is with a terrible man, and she's not going to be happy. Neither of them are going to be happy. It's going to be terrible. They're just going to, feed into each other's vices. He's going to go out and just try and get money wherever he can, and she's going to go out and just flirt with everyone. And the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, her plotline ends with I don't know how to. This guy took a video of them in bed together and is, having people pay to come to a viewing of it, and watch it. And Darcy ends up, getting rid of it so nobody ever sees it. And Lydia does not end up with him in any shape or form because he is very 110% clearly the bad guy, and they treat him as such. And so they don't get a happy ending together maybe they do get a happy ending because they're not stuck with one another. But it was really good because they showed Lizzie at the end, apologizing to Lydia and saying, I love you, because she cries and says, why didn't he love me? And oh man, just talking about it's gonna make me cry. It was really good. I was really happy with it. But their sisterhood is handled really well. You believe by the end of it that, like, yeah, they care about one another. They're sisters. And I don't know. Oh, okay. I'm just weaving in the ends. My hands looked weird, so I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. That's not how one crochets. Where was I? Lydia Bennett. Oh, yeah. So the Lizzie Bennett Diaries only has Jane, Lizzie, and Lydia. Mary is their cousin, and Kitty is a cat that Lydia adopts, which works out fine because honestly, Lydia was the one who had the most screen time or the most scenes in the book, however you want to handle that. So I think they handled it really well with only 3 sisters. But yeah. Have I watched anything else recently that David won't watch? I think that's it. I mean, I might be able to get him to watch the Lizzie Bennett Diaries, but I feel like that's going to be a lot of time and he won't want to. I am going to try and get him to watch the what is it, the PBC movie series, whatever, TV series? Colin Firth, the one with Colin Firth. I'm going to try. We'll see. No promises, though. Alright, so then we're just going to move on to the random questions. And I'm yawning, sorry. So, I think where I left off last was if you had an unlimited budget, what epic prank would you pull? That sounds familiar. I could be wrong, but I don't know. Random questions to ask coworkers. So that'll be interesting. I guess I am my own coworker. 1. Who is the strangest coworker you ever had? Who is my strangest coworker? I did have a coworker at Michael's who always came in with like scary contacts. Like she loved Halloween more than anything. And people consider that strange. Like some customers would be a little freaked out by her and others thought it was really cool. So I guess strange works for that. Who else has been strange? No, I feel like Krista was the standout. I liked her. I have her on Facebook and I still check in on her. So strange has never been an insult in my world. So 2, which fictional workplace would you like to get a job at? The Pokemon Center. Or, no, that would be sad, wouldn't it? Because they'd always come in hurt. But Pokemon rarely die. So I'd probably be happy most of the time. Can you be allergic to Pokemon in the Pokemon universe? Because if so, I'd probably be allergic to all my favorites and that would suck. But I do think that would be fun. I still think that would be fun. The Pokemon Center? Or heck, even a gym. Or the Elite Four. Do those count as jobs? I'm not sure. I don't know. Where else would it be fun to work? Honestly, that is the one that's just stuck in my head. You know what? I'm going to stick with it. Yeah. 3, what task do you wish people would pay you to do? This. Crochet, cross stitch, all of my arts and crafts stuff. That would be awesome. Or going to the bathroom. I have a small bladder, so getting paid to go to the restroom, that would, I could do that. If I were paid to drink water, I would drink more of it. I will say that. That could be good. 4, if you weren't in this profession, what job would be your next choice? Okay, so if I wasn't in accounting, I mean, like arts, that was my original major. I was an arts major. Obviously, I did not stick with that. But my next job choice, I mean, I guess I could just go to a different direction with accounting, like audit or tax. Not really a fan of tax, but I guess that still counts as accounting, though, doesn't it? Finance? Technically, it's a different title. A finance degree is not the same as an accounting degree, so I guess I could go into finance. 5. Who is the best boss you ever had? That would be Justin at Michael's. No hesitation. Best boss ever. I still have him on Facebook, and I still talk with him. I think the only ex-coworker that I talk to more than I do Justin is Holka, my best friend. So, yeah, if that gives you any indication of how well we vibe together. He was into Deadpool. He liked American Horror Story. We had the same sense of humor, and we had the same work ethic. So we'd be able to, talk and chat over the radio, but we would still get all of our projects done. Versus there are other people I vibed with really well, and, I'll be working, in the custom framing shop, and they would just stand there and chat. Versus if Justin were in the custom framing shop and chatting with me, he was trained in custom framing, so he'd be able to whip out some projects as well. So, yeah, and he was also a really good boss because he was willing to be the bad guy. He was not afraid to be call somebody into the office and be like, hey, you done screwed up. This is what you need to do. So I've had other bosses who were like, oh, could you tell this person who has been late for the previous 2 years before we hired you, can you talk to her and find out why she's always late and get that fixed, because it's a problem. Oh my god, that was ridiculous. 6. What is the most outrageous customer you ever had? Oh man, we had some really bad ones at Michael's and at Ross, because retail. But the first one that came to my mind was a woman. I'm pretty sure I've already discussed this before, but whatever. It's probably been long enough. Mark, the other manager on duty that day, called me up to the front because he was like, hey, Liz, there's a woman trying to do a non-receipted return. I told her we can't do it. She wants to speak to another manager. So I walked up, and Mark and I were just a united front. If he told somebody no, I would tell them no. If I told someone no, he would tell them no. And it worked really well because, if you get shot down by 2 managers, I don't remember anyone ever requesting a third, especially because sometimes we didn't have a third. But, you were done. And so I went up, I listened to her spiel, and I was like, oh yeah, unfortunately, we haven't sold one of these in a certain amount of time, or it's over a certain amount, whatever it was. I checked in my RF gun and I looked at the system the same way Mark did, and I was like, yeah, no, we can't accept this. If you have a receipt or you have a rewards program, if you're in the rewards program, anything, we can do it, but without a receipt, we can't. And she started cussing me out, and I was like, all right, now that you have cursed at me, you can leave my store. She kept cursing at me, and she was like, I'll meet you in the parking lot later, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, sure, get out. And, she kept saying things like that. And I was like, lady, you told me you were pregnant earlier, and that was part of your sob story. Get the heck out of my store right now before I call the cops on you. And she walked out, and she was like, F you. But, she said the word out. And I had already given my 2 weeks to work at this point. So I said it back to her. And after she left, everybody was like, oh my God, Liz, how did that feel? And I was like, it felt amazing. Because at that point, I was like, she already cussed me out, so, I'm done. I've had it up to here. And if they do decide to fire me for this, if she complains to corporate and, they can magically prove that I cussed when I know they couldn't, and we are in a 2-party consent state, so if she'd recorded me, that would have been illegal. Anyways, even if they had decided to fire me, I'd already turned in my 2 weeks. I already had another job lined up, so it wouldn't have mattered. And so it felt really good. But it was so outrageous because it's like, you think cussing people out and saying you're going to beat them up and all this is going to get you what you want? Are you kidding me? Ugh. And then I remember another lady, she piled so much stuff into one of our carts, you could see it above the aisle. And I can't speak for every Michael's in the world, although I think Michael's is only in the US. But anyways, so the aisles, I would have to get on I want to say a 4-step ladder in order to reach the boxes at the top of the aisle. So very tall aisles. So she piled this stuff in the cart so high it could be seen in between the aisles, over the top of the aisle. She brought it up to the front, and it was teetering like it was gonna fall. And I was like, ma'am, this is a potential hazard. I don't want this falling and hurting anyone. Can I bring this up to you, or can I bring this up to the front for you and bring you a new empty cart so you can continue shopping? And she started cussing me out, and she tried to kick me. No joke, she tried to kick me, to the point that afterwards, we called security, and actual police showed up, and they asked if I wanted to press charges, and I was like, yes, I do. Because if I hadn't backed off, she would have kicked me, and I could have been hurt, and I don't want any of my employees getting kicked. This is, not okay. Especially because we have 16-year-olds working for us. I don't want to know how they're going to react to getting kicked. Whether it's, really, really bad because they fight back, or really, really bad because they get hurt because they're young and they don't think that somebody's going to attack them, Never saw her again. But yeah, and that was fun because right after she tried to kick me, I was like, ma'am, you need to get out of my store because I'm calling security right now. And she left, and then we had to put all that junk away. And not gonna lie, all of us were already expecting that we were gonna have to put it away because she was gonna try and steal it. Don't know how that was gonna work though, because our carts had poles on them, and then, when she hit the wall, even if there weren't a pole, all of the stuff at the top would have fallen, and it would have fallen onto her. So, I don't know, maybe she had some mental issues, I'm not sure, but I was working in retail. It was not my job to get her help. It was my job to protect myself and my employees. And I didn't want to get kicked. Oh, she also attempted to kick one of the customers because a customer came over after she tried to kick me because she thought that, she was constantly having stuff fall from her cart. It was all teetering and falling over. So she thought she could help. And then the lady tried to kick her too. So it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. Mm-mm. Outrageous. I hate people. I don't miss working retail. 7. What kind of person would be your worst nightmare to share an office with? One that just refuses to work. One that constantly wants to go off subject and talk about other things and just has zero work ethic. I can't handle that. When I'm on the clock, I am just work. I don't want to be doing all of these other things. I don't want to be talking about how great your trip to Aspen was, or I have no idea. I'm here to work. When I'm on my break, we can talk about this, but if I'm working, I'm being paid to work. I will work. So that would just... Someone who's consistently ignoring meetings and project deadlines, that would just... Oh, that would drive me up the wall. Ugh. 8. What totally outrageous luxury would you love to have in the office? So I'm working from home, but I do have an office. So what outrageous luxury would I like to have in there? I don't know. The first thing that came to my mind was a hammock, but I don't take naps unless I'm not feeling well or something. so I wouldn't use it, and I get motion sickness, so I feel like if I were in the hammock and swinging on like a laptop or something, that it just wouldn't work. But also, like, I have two huge screens now. I don't think I could work on a little computer ever again, like a little laptop screen. So it just, that wouldn't work. And I don't know what other outrageous luxuries I'd want. Like just a very, very, very plush carpet, because I stand at my desk, so that would be nice. Like, I can't even ask for like a crazy gamer chair or something, because yeah, I stand at my desk. 9. Was there ever a moment you were sure you were going to be fired, but it turned out fine? Yes, when I was working at Michael's, the first time I had a customer trick me, it's common in retail, but she looked like she had just come into the store. She was dumping stuff into the cart, literally at the front of the store at the entrance. Like, she had just walked in, grabbed a cart, and put stuff in there. And she was like, "Hey, I'm coming in to exchange some of this stuff for other things. Is that okay?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's fine." And this was my first, like, real retail job, by the way. Like, I'd been a bagger on base, which, yeah, like, if you get caught stealing on base, that could ruin your career. So, not really that big of an issue. So, I was brand new. Like, I was a temporary summer hire at that time. I hadn't been made permanent yet. Cause yeah, Gabe was the store manager. So, brand new to retail, okay? And I was an idiot. Whatever. I believed her, and like 10 minutes later or something, the cashier called me to the front and was like, "Hey Liz, this lady said she talked to you and she came into the store. Can you come up to the front?" So I came up. She had stuff in her cart, and she was like, "Yeah, I brought in stuff for exchange. I couldn't really find what I wanted." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And, I told the cashier, like, "Yeah, I saw her at the front. She told me she was bringing stuff in for an exchange." And the cashier was like, "Oh, okay." And so I helped the lady bring the stuff out to her car. And it was as we were putting the stuff in, I think it was her back seat, maybe her passenger seat. It wasn't the trunk, I remember that I was like, I don't remember her having this much stuff in the cart. So I was like, "Are you sure this is all stuff you brought in?" And then she was like, "Oh yeah, no, all of the stuff up at the front by you." So it was, the spot where you would like put your kid. That is stuff I was looking at, but I've decided not to get, which was some pretty expensive stuff. So at least, I saved those. I went back in, and the store manager was like, "Liz, are you sure she brought that stuff in?" And I was like, "She told me that she did." And he looked at the cameras, and he's like, "Yeah, no, she didn't bring anything in. She just started dumping stuff at the front, called you over, and made it look like that. She just got away with stealing a ton of stuff." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't know." And so I guess he had to go and, write a report on how much stuff was stolen, yada yada. And the cashier, who'd been there for years, was like, "Yeah, no, that's a common thing that they do, where, they make it look like they're going to, do a return or whatever. And you have to be on the lookout for that. And if necessary, you can, let the store manager know so they can check the cameras and see if the person actually brought the stuff in, or if, they came in with nothing and they're lying and they're trying to steal." The woman was white, by the way, in case anyone is trying anything or thinking anything. But I went and I cried in my car for like 30 minutes before I felt safe to drive. And all I can think now is, why didn't that cashier say that to me at any point? Why didn't she call over the store manager you know, like anything, instead of just letting me walk out like that. I just, ugh, makes me angry. And that is the end of Larksfoot Crochet Afghan Blanket Day 5. I got 4 hours and 6 minutes of footage. So a lot. This might be the end. I haven't decided yet. I might make it bigger. Oops. So it's really long. And it's also very tall. There we go. That's a quarter of it. So, that, you know what? That might be it. That might be done. I might call it. I might need to do one more row. I'm not sure if it's okay to end on blue or not, because the blue for me was rows 3 and 4 instead of 5 and 6. And you might need to end on, you know, an actual end. Like, I haven't even looked at the pattern recently. I'm such a bad person. Okay, 6 rows of stripe pattern are complete. Keeping continuation of stripe pattern, repeat 3rd to 6th rows until work from beginning measures approximately 58, ending with 2 rows of MC. Oh, MC is the starting color. So no, it doesn't look like it has to be ended in any particular kind of way. It just has to be how you want it to end. So I have one end that's blue and one end that's black, and I think that's okay. Maybe, I don't know. It's really soft. Like, my major complaint with this yarn is that there were constantly knots. Like, and then this was in the middle of my blue ball of yarn. Like, wow. Thanks, Bernat. 2 feet of a string. It's so helpful. Like, I get that, you know, there are going to be issues, but there were a lot of knots. It's kind of ridiculous how many knots there were. Like, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm used to the regular Bernat blanket, which knots were pretty rare, versus with the velvet Bernat. It was consistent. There were a lot of knots. And I only used, like, what, 2 balls of each color? That's crazy to me. I don't know. Okay, I'm just rambling now. I'm sorry. Like, subscribe, share, comment, all that jazz. And I'll see you guys next video.